At the Yangsheng and Zhang Yi base, these two major forces, after returning from worshipping the snow sect, began to act against that mysterious force. They conducted a wide investigation, almost confirming that the force was located in the Yuncle area at the Xudong manor and village. Yi Xiaotian, with his keen intuition, was the first to notice that there were strangers. He jumped up, saw the unfamiliar faces in the snow-covered house, and immediately became alert. "Who are you? Get out of here." A soldier did not hesitate, his large hand like a steel clam, grabbed Yi Xiaotian by the neck and threw him hard against the wall. "If you dare to say another word, I will break your neck." He coldly threatened, leaving Yi Xiaotian dazed. Even though he was a modified person, stronger than ordinary human, the person in front of him was clearly an experienced warrior. Yi Xiaotian gritted his teeth and yelled out, suddenly exerting force to push the hand of the other away and kicked him back 3 to 4 meters. Tong Hu's eyes gleamed with brilliance. "Ha, mutant person." Knowing he was no match for so many, Yi Xiaotian decided to flee, but Tong Hu, with his large physique, blocked his way. He thought to himself, "I cannot let this person escape." Full of strength, Yi Xiaotian threw a punch at Tong Hu. "Get out of my way." But just after a moment, he saw a scorching light before his eyes and felt intense pain in his abdomen. Tong Hu used his fiery fist to strike hard at Yi Xiaotian's stomach, causing the clothes on him to burst into flames. Yi Xiaotian coughed a few times, spat a mouthful of fresh blood, and collapsed into the snow faint. Tong Hu stepped in front of Yi Xiaotian, cracking his knuckles as he said, "You don't know your own strength." He thought to himself, "On these people remnants of the Taishan base. I must act quickly, without delay. It won't be easy to deal with them once they wake up." Zhang Yi and the others were still in deep sleep when Tong Hu and his men subdued them. A few hours earlier, by the Lujiang River, near the Yangsheng base, the person sent was known by the nickname Tong Hu. He was over 40 years old, and before the apocalypse, he was a professional bodyguard, skilled in various close combat techniques and proficient in weapon use. After awakening his superpowers, he became one of the key generals under Xiao Honglian. Due to their vehicle being overly modified from a snowmobile, it created a loud noise. He instructed his subordinates not to use the vehicle to avoid detection. From a distance, they observed through binoculars. When looking across the river, they discovered a massive wall of hard ice, causing everyone to stare in astonishment. Tong Hu couldn't help but sigh in admiration. How could such a structure be built by human strength alone? The dense fence resembled a 20-meter-high wall of ice and snow with an astonishing thickness of 10 meters. Although the primary material was iced, there was also a steel framework inside, making its defensive capability incredibly impressive. This structure, unless attacked with large-caliber artillery, could hardly be destroyed by the ordinary weapons of individual soldiers. A serious expression appeared on Tong Hu's face. "I am beginning to understand why they have been able to withstand the powerful armed forces of the Xishan base for so long." He ordered everyone, "Be careful. This opponent is not easy to deal with. If we're not cautious, our lives may end right here." The investigative soldiers, being cautious, naturally understood Tong Hu's meaning. Tong Hu checked the equipment and confirmed that the signal from Gao Yuan's satellite phone was in the area of the snow house ahead. After thinking for a moment, he called a clever subordinate over. "You go ahead and investigate the situation there." That subordinate carefully left the ranks and moved toward Xudong village. The snow was falling heavily, and he wore an outfit that matched the color of the snow, moving silently, making it very difficult to be detected by the naked eye. Even from a close distance, he approached the boundary of Xudong village cautiously, but saw no guards. He let out a quiet breath and continued to advance into the interior. However, as he moved deeper, he realized that this place was not a vibrant village. The snow dome houses resembled dark, eerie graves standing silently in the snowfield. In this freezing weather, there were no signs of human presence, as if everyone here had vanished. While waiting for the result from that soldier, Tong Hu instructed his soldiers, "There may be dangerous masters hiding here. If we detect any abnormalities, we will retreat immediately." His subordinates nodded seriously. Not long after, the subordinate returned. He happily reported to Tong Hu, "Boss, up ahead is just an empty countryside. There are no guards around, and I don't see any signs of people inside. I found the source of the signal, and there are no signs of danger." Tong Hu's face showed clear astonishment. "What? How can that be?" He repeatedly questioned the scout to confirm the situation in Xudong village. Doubts in his mind grew deeper. An opponent capable of instilling fear in the two leaders of major bases and preventing the Xishan base from gaining an advantage could not be just an ordinary force. At that moment, his gaze suddenly stopped on the iced and snow fence across the river. Tong Hu unexpectedly realized something. Could a powerful force really be hiding behind this defensive front? But why was the source of the signal here? Was this a trap? Tong Hu was filled with suspicion, but knowing that they had come this far, he understood that he needed to collect some useful information before returning. So he and his subordinates began to slowly advance towards Sudong village. Tong Hu did not expect that after his caution, he would finally discover a group of young people soundly asleep in a snow house. Currently, Tong Hu had captured them, and they were all bound to be taken back to the leader for handling. At the refuge, Zhang Yi lay in his room. The sound from his mobile phone rang out. He had instructed Hua Hua to place the satellite phone in Sudong village, so that as soon as the signal moved far away, he would receive a notification. Zhang Yi opened his phone and intently watched as the signal slowly moved farther away. He squinted. They had finally arrived and placed the satellite phone in the student's room. A plan with one stone to kill two birds. First, he could use the power from the outside to eliminate the nuisances from those students. Second, he had let Yang Xin intervene in the satellite phone system to track its location in real time. This way, as soon as someone came to take it away, Zhang Yi could determine the location of the enemy base. He stood by the window, looking toward Sudong village amidst the snow and wind, a sharp glint in his eyes. Is the situation unfolding this way? Now I am even more eager. I killed the base Zhao Yu and Yang Sheng, two mutant persons from two major bases, so this grudge would definitely not end here. I knew I would soon have to face these two bases. Thinking that, Zhang Yi left his room and went to the control room to find Yang Xin. Yang Xin was often here to monitor the security system of the refuge in order to prevent outside infiltration and protect important information. Intelligence information determines the power difference between the two sides. There is nothing more important. Sometimes information is even more valuable than weapons. In the control center, Zhang Yi saw Yang Xin sitting in a wheelchair. She was eating fries and focused on the screen. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Yang Xin hurriedly turned off the video. She knew the person coming in was definitely Zhang Yi, as only Zhang Yi and she had the right to enter the control room, and Zhang Yi's authority was higher than hers. Yang Xin said with a sweet smile, "Brother Zhang Yi, you have arrived." Zhang Yi smiled and nodded, approached, and gently stroked her soft hair. "Are you not bored watching movies by yourself?" Yang Xin replied with a submissive expression. "Not at all, I'm just trying to kill time. I'm not being lazy." Zhang Yi sat next to Yang Xin and asked, "How have you studied the data from the satellite phone that I sent you a few days ago? Is there any important information?" Analyzing data is a time-consuming task as artificial intelligence has yet to distinguish which information is useful. Therefore, Yang Xin also had to manually filter the information. In fact, the large amount of data obtained from the Xishan base had not yet been fully processed. Yang Xin told Zhang Yi, "These people are extremely cautious. Additionally, the usage time of the satellite phone was not long, so the information is quite limited. However, for the chat history, we can confirm the identity of the person you killed. That person's name is Gao Yuan, who is Tio Hong Lan's cousin, the leader of the Yangsheng base, and also the captain of a fighting team." After listening, Zhang Yi couldn't help but raise his hand to his forehead. How can it be such a coincidence? Unfortunately, he killed the leader's relative at the Yangsheng base. It seems that resolving this conflict won't be simple. Yang Xin smiled lightly. He's just a cousin, not a sibling. Their relationship is still unclear. She continued, "Here, my relationship with our cousin is also quite ordinary." Zhang Yi shrugged. "Our family relations are not very clear. We should still be prepared." Yang Xin added, "Moreover, according to what he said in the chat history, the Yangsheng base and the Zhao Yu base have a fairly close relationship. This information was obtained from his conversations with some people from the Yangsheng base. The specific situation is still unclear." She looked at Zhang Yi warily and said, "Boss, if that's the case, we might have to face the alliance of both bases at the same time." Zhang Yi took a deep breath and then slowly crossed his arms. He calmly said, "I have considered this possibility, not ruling out the worst-case scenario, but after a long battle with the Taishan base, the fear of these large organizations has disappeared. They are just ordinary bases that do not possess nuclear weapons or any large-scale weapons, so they cannot pose a significant threat to us." As he spoke, he clenched his fist, showing his determination. "I also desire a battle with them. Only in this way can they understand that this area now belongs to Zhang Yi, and they are not allowed to cross the line and disturb our lives. A fight to make them recognize our strength, after which everyone's life can return to peace." At this moment, Zhang Yi could no longer continue his daily life as before. Under his command, the soldiers were strong, each one a top talent. Moreover, after receiving all the weapons from the Xishan base, he had built an integrated defensive and offensive fortress. As long as he did not actively attack other forces in terms of defense and counterattack capabilities, no one in Tianhai could rival him. Yang Xin looked at Zhang Yi with a confident yet cautious expression. That's right, Zhang Yi boss. In their conversation records, they mentioned some things about the worship the Snow Sect. Although it doesn't relate directly to us, I still want to tell you a bit about it. Zhang Yi frowned and said, "Oh, he has no fondness for the worship the Snow Sect. This is a religion developed from abroad and transformed into a new cult, exploiting the despair and ignorance of humanity to expand its influence. It is certainly not a good thing." Zhang Yi told Xin, "Go ahead, what did they say?" From the conversation with Gao Yuan and his group, I can clearly see their very negative attitude towards the worship the Snow Sect. Therefore, I think the conflict between them is quite intense. Zhang Yi pondered and replied, "So what? Do you mean that if we are attacked by Yang Sheng, we should consider asking the Snow Sect for help?" Yang Xin blinked. "Who knows? But having one more person to assist is better than having another enemy, right?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "No, ambiguous help can sometimes be more frightening than an enemy." He shifted the topic. "However, if they are valuable to exploit, I wouldn't mind pushing them a little. In this apocalyptic world, it's hard to find true friends. People are just in a relationship of exchanging benefits. Those who are useful can become companions, but when interests conflict, they will quickly change their stance and become enemies." Tong Hu took Hao Cheng Yu and his group away from Sudong village, traveling all night back to Yang Sheng base. With this information, he could report to Xiao Hong Lian. Tong Hu's convoy returned to Yang Sheng base. Tong Hu ordered, "Keep an eye on them. I will report to the leader immediately." At this moment, Hao Cheng Yu and his group were worried about facing powerful strangers, fearing that they might be killed. If only we had listened to Teacher Liang's advice and honestly hid away, perhaps we wouldn't have been captured again. Zhang Yi, though selfish and cold, at least did not kill us and had enough kindness to give us food. No, that's not it. It's all Liang Yu's fault. If she hadn't taken us to Sudong village, how would we have faced this situation? Feelings of desperation, hatred, and regret enveloped the minds of the students. Now it was quite late, but Tong Hu still sought out Xiao Hong Lian. Tong Hu knocked on the door and immediately heard a voice calling out, "Come in." Indeed, when he arrived at Xiao Hong Lian's office, she was still reviewing documents. After knocking and stepping into the office, Xiao Hong Lian did not look up but asked, "What are the investigation results?" Tong Hu recounted everything he had witnessed. "We found Gao Yuan's missing phone in Sudong village. Furthermore, we captured a group of students claiming to come from Tian King School, and their teacher is with a person named Zhang Yi. I did not see Zhang Yi, but in Sudong village, we discovered a thick ice snow fence. Across the Lujiang River is Yunque Estate. If I'm not mistaken, Zhang Yi and his men are hiding behind this fence. They are also using it to resist the attack from the Xishan base." Tong Hu presented his assumptions. Xiao Hong Lian frowned, set down the documents in her hands, and fixed her deep gaze on Tong Hu. "Where are those students?" Tong Hu replied, "They are outside. Would you like to interrogate them yourself?" Xiao Hong Lian stood up from her chair. "Let's go check the situation a bit. This issue is very important." Thus, she was determined to hear the story of these students herself. Meanwhile, Hao Cheng Yu and his group were taken to a workshop in the oil refinery. Around them, machines were still operating noisily, the temperature much higher than outside, alleviating the coldness on the students' bodies. However, this did not warm their hearts. Surrounding them were soldiers fully armed. In this oppressive circumstance, the atmosphere was no more comfortable than when they were cycling at the Xishan base. No one dared to speak, kneeling on the cold ground, feeling their legs go numb. After some time, they heard heavy footsteps echoing from outside the workshop. The door of the workshop was opened by two soldiers, and Hao Cheng Yu's gaze along with his group fell upon a woman with a cold and arrogant expression. She wore red clothing, which was a special combat uniform, very different from the others. She was accompanied by Zhuge Qingting and Tong Hu. Xiao Hong Lian entered the workshop and saw the group of captives before her, weak and unable to endure. The female students each had ashen faces, clearly scared to the point of losing their composure. The male students all had fair and smooth skin. Looking at them, it was evident that they had no fighting capability whatsoever. Just a glance was enough to recognize that they were all students who had been carefully protected in an environment akin to precious jade. Without their protectors, they would surely be the first to die in this world. Tong Hu said to Xiao Hong Lian, "There is one person in a coma. He may be related to the Xishan base because I found signs of the body modification techniques of the Xishan base on him." Xiao Hong Lian immediately showed interest. "The body modification technique of the Xishan base is something I desire. Although the mortality rate is quite high, it has the potential to create a strong new-person army, significantly increasing the armed forces of the base, unlike them who can only temporarily enhance the soldier's strength through pharmaceuticals. Seo Hong Lion said calmly, "Keep that person here so we can study him further." A soldier brought a chair and carefully placed it behind Seo Hong Lian. She comfortably sat down, crossed her legs, and looked down at the group of captured students in front of her. Her amber eyes gleamed cold and powerful. "Present everything you know. If not, you will experience the interrogation methods of the Yangsheng base." Hao Cheng-yu was terrified and quickly knelt, saying, "Rest assured, I will not hide anything you want to know. I only ask for your mercy." Seeing his actions, the other students immediately regained their composure. At this moment, they needed to show their usefulness to avoid being killed. "I will tell you everything I know. Please don't kill me, please. Who do you want to know about? Whether it's Zhang Yi or Liang Yu, I can tell you everything." Seo Hong Lion saw their weakness and felt even more disdain. She understood that these people could not have any important information about Zhang Yi. Nevertheless, she didn't know much about Zhang Yi either, so any information would be useful. She took out Gao Yuan's satellite phone and asked them, "First, tell me, where did you get this satellite phone?" But how could these students know its origin? If it weren't for Tonghu finding it under their bed, they wouldn't have had the chance to see it. "We don't know anything about this item. We have never seen it before." Seo Hong Lion's face showed dissatisfaction. Hao Cheng-yu felt anxious, realizing he had to think of something quickly. He cleverly blamed Zhang Yi. This item was left by Zhang Yi. Seo Hong Lian's sharp gaze began to show clearly. Zhang Yi was indeed behind this. Killing Gao Yuan was like a declaration of war against her and the Yangsheng base. As the leader of the Yangsheng base, she was determined to make Zhang Yi pay with blood. Otherwise, her reputation at the Yangsheng base would be shaken. Seo Hong Lion looked at Hao Cheng-yu with a threatening gaze and asked the most important questions. "Tell me, how many people does Zhang Yi and his subordinates have? What are the abilities of each person? How many weapons and supplies do they possess?" This topic leaves Hao Cheng-yu and his group confused, not knowing what to do. Although they have lived in Sudong village for a long time, they have never crossed to the other side of the river. They have no connection with Zhang Yi and his refuge, like two parallel lines. They know nothing about Zhang Yi's power, his superpower, or the abilities of his subordinates. Seeing the group silent, Seo Hong Lion asked again, "What's the matter? Can't you speak?" The group of students awkwardly presented the information they knew, leaving no detail out. "I heard that Zhang Yi has spatial abilities. His subordinates are all very powerful. Among them is a person named Yang Sin, a senior hacker. There is also someone named Liu Keiran, who is very skilled in machinery. Beside him is a woman named Yang Mai, the famous actress Yang Mei. Our teacher, Liang Yu, is currently with him. Liang Yu is a national martial arts master and was once a very powerful senior bodyguard." Zhuge Qingting shook his head at Seo Hong Lion. With only this information, it is very difficult to assess the actual strength of Zhang Yi's group. Seo Hong Lion said calmly, "Do you have any other information? Think carefully. Just based on what you have said, it is not enough for me to spare your lives." The students felt confused. "Please don't. We have other values. Please don't kill us. If you keep us, Liang Yu is very emotional. Later, you could use us to negotiate with Liang Yu. No matter what conditions you set, she will agree." That's right. That's right. Liang Yu cares about us a lot. She won't let us die. If you want to confront Zhang Yi, we can guide you on your way." Hearing the student's words, Seo Hong Lion chuckled mockingly. She wasn't very interested, stood up, and waved her hand. "Keep them locked up. Give them time to think about their usefulness. If they truly can't come up with anything, when the time comes to deploy, we will kill them to demonstrate our resolve." She needed workers to operate her oil refinery. These people looked weak and unmotivated. The dying students were not worth keeping, just a waste of food. Zhuge Qingting approached her and said, "Maybe we should give it a try." Seo Hong Lion asked wearily, "Try what?" Zhuge Qingting leaned close to her ear and explained, "These people are students of Liang Yu, and Liang Yu is currently a subordinate of Zhang Yi. Their relationship might be quite good. We don't know Zhang Yi's true strength yet, so we can use these students as a bargaining chip in negotiations with him. This way, we can assess Zhang Yi's real power." Seo Hong Lion looked up and said, "You really think using these useless students to threaten Zhang Yi or Liang Yu will be effective?" A mocking smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Don't be stupid. What time is it now? This is the apocalypse. Everyone is doing their best to survive. Only truly valuable talents make others willing to pay a high price. They view these people as trash. Who would be willing to pay for them? Even their teacher, Liang Yu, can't be foolish enough to do that." Zhuge Qingting chuckled and lowered her head. Our leader, you need to know that not every woman in this world is as rational as you. Perhaps their teacher, Liang Yu, is an emotional woman. Moreover, from what I observe, they can definitely live near Zhang Yi's refuge. This indicates that Liang Yu may not be able to abandon them. Hearing Shuj King Ting's words, Xiao Hong Lian also found it reasonable. She couldn't impose her way of thinking on others. After all, strong women like her were rare. You mean their teacher Liang Yu could be a female Buddha? Shuj King Ting laughed. I just hope she is like that. If so, our chances will be very high. After hearing Shuj King Ting's opinion, Xiao Hong Lian decided to give it a try to probe. However, deep down, she didn't believe Zhang Yi and Liang Yu would act like a female Buddha, because people like them are hard to survive for long in the apocalypse. But taking this opportunity to explore the opponent's strength still intrigued her. If they truly cared about these people, that would be great. At that time, the advantage in negotiations would be in our hands. Xiao Hong Lian then told King Ting to send someone to contact Zhang Yi. Then, put those students in collars and throw them into the underground cell. Follow the orders. The next day in the shelter, Zhang Yi and his group sat around the long table and finished their breakfast. Liang Yu stood up and said to Zhang Yi, I'll go to Sudong village for a bit. Zhang Yi looked up. Go early and come back early. It's very cold outside. Don't let yourself freeze. This warm concern made Liang Yu bite her lip, her face slightly flushed. She couldn't dare to look at Yang Mai and Zhao Kai Ni beside her, knowing that they were definitely feeling envious. The relationship between her and Zhang Yi had developed rapidly in recent times. Although Zhang Yi had never said any intimate words to her, his occasional concern often appeared. During their training together, touching each other had also become more common. Over time, Liang Yu was also unsure about her feelings for Zhang Yi, as well as how he viewed her. She took the food from Zhang Yi's hand, then put on warm clothes and left the shelter. Zhang Yi watched her back, still casually eating, and thought to himself, what will Liang Yu do when she realizes all of her students have disappeared? Zhang Yi felt a bit curious. He hoped Liang Yu would give up on her students and honestly support him. But considering Zhang Yi's understanding of her, she couldn't remain indifferent to the event of her students' disappearance. In fact, she might react excessively. Hopefully, she won't cause me any more trouble. Otherwise, I will have to ask her to leave the shelter. Zhang Yi thought to himself, this is a test for Liang Yu. Liang Yu brought food to Xudong village. As always, she entered the snow house where the students resided. However, when she opened the door, she found no one there. Her heart suddenly raced and an ominous feeling arose within her. She knew the students' personalities well. Laziness was their nature. Apart from going out to catch fish, they never left this snow house. In fact, they even took care of their personal needs right behind a curtain. But now, there was no one here. Something unexpected must have happened. Liang Yu shouted, where did everyone go? She swallowed hard, feeling extremely anxious. She did not see them when crossing the river, so they must not have gone out to catch fish. Liang Yu set the food down on the table and began to analyze the situation. Sudong village was completely silent at this time. Although a few residents remained, they were only focused on gathering food and did not leave their homes. Liang Yu went from house to house, asking if anyone had seen her students. However, the final results yielded no leads. Liang Yu's mood grew increasingly heavy. A sense of unease gradually enveloped her. Could they have been taken by someone? Liang Yu recalled the forces that Zhang Yi had mentioned earlier and began to think of the worst-case scenario. Could my students have been kidnapped by some powerful force? But why would anyone want to rob Sudong village, such a barren place with no resources of value? Liang Yu went to the edge of Sujia town to search thoroughly once more, but there was not a soul in sight. She felt they had truly been captured. Liang Yu felt a headache from the thoughts, unable to understand the cause, and the anxiety in her heart grew heavier. No matter how much hope she had for these students, ever since the apocalypse began, they had been the ones accompanying her until now. Even though she knew these students did not appreciate her, she could not bear to see her students whom she had taught for many years die. Liang Yu looked around the quiet village, the cold wind howling. She felt helpless, not knowing how to search for her students. After a moment of thought, she suddenly remembered Zhang Yi. Perhaps the only way left was to ask Zhang Yi for help. She originally didn't want to cause more trouble for Zhang Yi. After all, he had been very kind to accept helping her, and Zhang Yi had treated her very well. Perhaps in her heart, she also had a special feeling for Zhang Yi. But right now, she truly didn't know how to find the missing students. Liang Yu ran quickly back to the refuge while thinking to herself, their disappearance was not a coincidence. If someone is really plotting against them, the target must be me. Liang Yu raised her head, exhaling a puff of white smoke, and said to herself, I cannot let them die because of me. He hurriedly returned to the refuge. The worried expression on her face drew the attention of everyone. Zhang Yi curiously looked at her. What's wrong? Liang Yu ran in front of Zhang Yi, panting, and said, Zhang Yi, something is wrong. Something major has happened. All of my students have disappeared. Everyone was extremely surprised upon hearing this. Sin exclaimed, What? Disappear? How can that be? More than 10 of them are missing? Liu Kangran also looked worried and asked, Did they go out to find materials and food? The concern was evident on everyone's faces, but their eyes did not reflect that. In the entire refuge, only Liang Yu cared about these individuals. The others had no feelings for her students. Liang Yu shook her head. I searched everywhere. I could but saw not a single trace of anyone. Zhang Yi, I suspect that some forces may have extended their influence here. Zhang Yi interlaced his fingers in front of his chest, frowning, and thought, It's indeed very possible, but I don't understand why they would want to capture your students. Do you have any grudges with them in the past? Liang Yu was also very confused. I don't know. I have taught at Tian King School for 3 years and have never caused trouble with anyone. Zhang Yi advised her not to rush. Let's stay calm and think of a solution. Zhang Yi looked straight at Liang Yu and said sincerely, First of all, I need to clarify one thing. The disappearance of your student is not my fault. If you don't believe me, I can show you the surveillance footage from the refuge. I have been in the shelter all day yesterday and have never gone outside. Let's investigate if anyone approached the shelter and see if there are any clues. Check the cameras around a bit to ensure that no strangers appeared nearby as well. After saying this, Zhang Yi immediately turned on the camera for everyone to watch. Very quickly, many images appeared on the large screen in the living room. Zhang Yi shook his head. Some things should be clear so that everyone will not have doubts in their hearts. With the disappearance of her student, everyone in the refuge is under suspicion. Yang Xin nodded and said, That's right. Although we did not do such a thing, it is best to reassure each other. Zhang Yi raised his chin and said seriously, This could be a major trouble. We do not know who did this and what their purpose is. This leaves us completely passive. While we know that there are 4 major organizations in Tianhai City, we cannot rule out the possibility that this comes from other forces we are not aware of. We can hardly take any initiative. The ones who kidnapped your student definitely have their own motives. Therefore, I think we should wait. They might contact us. Liang Yu clenched her fist. But what do I have that's worth someone doing that? I don't even remember picking a fight with anyone. Zhang Yi smiled and said, This issue is really complex, but clearly your student's arrest may not only be related to you, but could also involve others. Of course, this is just a hypothesis. Liang Yu felt warmth in her heart as she looked up into Zhang Yi's calm eyes. Liang Yu frowned, feeling uneasy. She wanted to do something but didn't know where to start. She didn't know who the enemy was or what they wanted. She could only sit there, feeling awkward. At that moment, her cold hand was grasped tightly by Zhang Yi's worn hand. Liang Yu felt warmth spreading in her heart as she looked directly into Zhang Yi's eyes. Liang Yu, don't worry. Your problem is also my problem. I promise to help you take care of those students, and I won't lie. As soon as I have news, I will take action immediately. Liang Yu felt warm inside, but she still felt confused and scared. She could only trust and follow Zhang Yi's arrangements. Zhang Yi smiled, feeling pleased inside. Finally, he could resolve those troubles. Before long, Liang Yu's students would be dead. Even if it wasn't the Yangsheng faction that killed them, Zhang Yi's poisoning of their food would still take effect. The important thing was that Liang Yu would not realize he did this, leaving her unable to turn against him. Liang Yu emotionally said to Zhang Yi, All right, I'll follow your advice. The young man looked at her, thinking to himself, Finally, those troubles have been resolved. After comforting Liang Yu for a while, her mood seemed to improve a little. Zhang Yi then assigned Zhou Kai Nian and Yang Xin to take Liang Yu back to rest. After everyone had left, Zhou Kai Nian approached Zhang Yi with a worried expression, leaning against him and asking, Zhang Yi, do you think one of those forces wants to attack us? The young man nodded. Yeah, that is indeed the case. Zhang Yi had never told anyone about killing Gao Yuan and his group, but he knew that a conflict with the major forces would eventually occur. Only by fighting a battle and proving their strength could they force the forces eyeing the Xaishan base into complete silence. This was an unavoidable situation. Yang my side. The peaceful days didn't last long. Why are we starting a fight? Zhang Yi chuckled softly. You've misunderstood. It's not the war that disrupts our peaceful lives, but we use war as a means to exchange for temporary tranquility. In a post-apocalyptic world, war and killing are the normal state. Peace is not like that. While hugging the 2 girls, Zhang Yi contemplated how to respond to the upcoming war. If only 2 forces attacked at the same time, we could defend ourselves. But would 4 forces unite against us? Zhang Yi furrowed his brow and thought, if this was really the case, it might become a bit troublesome. He had prepared for a battle. In this battle, he was determined to make a name for himself in Tianhai City so that no forces would dare to mess with him. Only then could he have a long-lasting peaceful life. Though Liang Yu was worried, she was like any other woman. She was easily comforted. People had tried to comfort her, and she gradually calmed down. After all, her students couldn't live long. When they died, the worries in Liang Yu's heart would disappear, and everything would come to an end. The next day, Liang Yu didn't eat or drink anything. Zhao Kan asked Zhang Yi, "Aren't you heartbroken?" Zhang Yi smiled and replied, "Heartbroken? Heartbroken over what?" Zhao Kan blinked. "Don't you have any feelings for Liang Yu, or have you never been moved by her?" Zhang Yi chuckled softly. "I value her a lot. If we could become trustworthy friends, that would be great. However, she first needs to overcome this challenge. For Zhang Yi at this moment, feelings were just the spice of life. They made life more interesting, but without them, focusing on the essentials was enough to live healthily. Since his resurrection and survival in the post-apocalyptic world, his perspective on love and close relationships had become increasingly blurred. That afternoon, Zhang Yi summoned Uncle Wang and Chun Lai, informing them to be prepared for battle at any time. The reason was that the troops from the Yangsheng base had infiltrated the hiding area. They had discovered Sudong village and clearly would not overlook the nearby shelter area. However, they had not launched an attack simply because they were not ready. Uncle Wang's reaction was quite calm. Ever since we took down the mutant persons at Zhao Yu's base, I knew that this war was unavoidable. Chun Lai sighed, "This is so troublesome. Why can't those people just live peacefully in this post-apocalyptic world? Why do they have to fight over territory?" Zhang Yi calmly explained, "Anytime, there are always ambitious people wanting to gain greater power. Once their survival goals are achieved, their ambitions will continue to expand. Not everyone is like us with no needs or ambitions. Moreover, from a safety perspective, we can only be truly safe by eliminating all surrounding threats. Not to mention them. Even if I detect any small armed organization nearby, I will deal with them." After finishing his words, Zhang Yi turned to encourage. "Chun Lai, you don't need to worry too much. Everything is part of my plan. As long as we show them our strength and make them understand that we are not easy opponents, they will naturally think twice before causing trouble." Zhang Yi did not have a deep conflict with the four major powers in Tianhai City. As long as his strength was enough to make the opponent wary, the problem would be solved. Taking the initiative to attack and seize a base was very difficult, but as long as he defended at the refuge, he was still very confident. Uncle Wang crossed his arms and laughed loudly. "Anyway, let's just do it. Our peaceful days are built on our fists. If anyone dares to disturb us, we will defeat them." Chun Lai sighed and rested his hand on his cheek, saying, "At this point, we have no choice but to fight. We are not strangers to battle, so it's not a big issue. Besides, defending is easier than attacking. Moreover, we still have the refuge as our final safe line of defense." Just then, a faint engine noise suddenly came from outside the refuge. The three immediately glanced sharply out the window. "Someone's coming." It was the sound of a car. Zhang Yi, Uncle Wang, and Chun Lai instantly rushed to the second-floor window. Through the one-way glass, he looked out far and saw a modified car driving on the snow a few hundred meters away from the Yun villa. This feeling was too familiar, resembling the car driving on the snow from the Yangsheng base that he had seen before. Zhang Yi thought to himself, "The people from the Yangsheng base. Why is there only one vehicle? Isn't a scout or a messenger?" While Zhang Yi pondered, he pulled out a large gun from his superpower space. The vehicle moving on the snow was quickly approaching with no intention of stopping. As it neared the Yun Manor, a steel crossbow appeared from the car's window and a black arrow shot into the wall. After performing this action, the snow-moving vehicle quickly sped away. Zhang Yi smiled coldly. Trying to run away? He opened the window, aiming the large gun at the wheels of the snow vehicle. With a loud bang, the bullet struck one of the tires. After a loud explosion echoed from over 800 meters away, the snow vehicle's tire was shot out. The vehicle slid off the road and flipped over towards the river. Zhang Yi, with the large gun in hand, jumped out of the window. Although the snow on the ground was very hard when the youth fell with the cloak wrapping around his body and the superpower assisting in reducing the impact, Zhang Yi landed as softly as a feather. The longer he used his superpower, the more adept Zhang Yi became. Behind him in the room, Uncle Liang quickly followed, while Chun Li was still dazed because everything had happened too fast, too dangerously. Zhang Yi held the gun in his hand, running at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour towards the vehicle that was flipping ahead. If he didn't hurry, the two soldiers might get in the car and escape, and the youth wouldn't be able to obtain any information. Upon arrival, the young man saw two soldiers in combat gear trying to crawl out of the vehicle. One had a broken leg, while the other was trying to help his comrade escape. The person outside the vehicle shouted, "Quick! They're coming after us!" Zhang Yi and Uncle Wang, riding on Ho Ho's back, quickly took a few steps to pursue the vehicle moving over the snow. When the other person saw Zhang Yi and Uncle Wang approaching, he decided to abandon his comrade and flee, ignoring the cries of his teammate trapped beneath the vehicle. The man continued to run, unaware that there was no escape for him. Zhang Yi swiftly raised his gun. At that moment, Ho Ho's head became a steady gun rest. The young man shot him in the calf, and with a loud bang, the soldier cried out in agony and collapsed into the snow, his calf pierced. The remaining soldier attempted to draw his weapon to fight back, but Uncle Wang quickly subdued him, rendering him immobile. Zhang Yi carefully observed the two soldiers, realizing they were just regular troops without superpowers. They didn't seem to be mutant persons, and they weren't here on a combat mission. Zhang Yi did not kill them as he had just captured two sources of information, and of course, he needed to keep them alive to gather more intel. However, it seemed the two soldiers had anticipated the outcome. Knowing that being captured meant no chance of survival, they gritted their teeth, their faces quickly turning dark purple, blood flowing from their mouths before they died. Zhang Yi frowned. Suicide. Seeing this, Uncle Wang opened his mouth, pointed at their chins, and said to Zhang Yi, the poison was hidden in the capsule under their teeth. Many scouts used this method, intending not to be captured alive and disclose information. Zhang Yi took a long breath and said helplessly, they are really quite smart. Although I promised to leave them a way out after gathering useful information, ultimately the young man will still decide to eliminate them. This crew clearly doesn't have too many illusions about their fate. Zhang Yi sighed. However, if they die like this, I still don't know their true purpose for coming here. At that moment, Chun Li, looking tired, ran over from behind, holding a black arrow in his hand, tightly bound with a piece of red cloth. Brother Zhang, they left something behind. Come here and take a look. Seeing this, Zhang Yi's pupils contracted and he immediately shouted at Chun Li, stop! Don't touch it. Chun Li, startled by Zhang Yi's loud shout, froze in place, not daring to move. He looked at the arrow in his hand and then realized something. His face turned pale. He had wanted to impress Zhang Yi, but forgot that the arrow could be poison-tipped or even contain a mini-bomb. In this era, human life was cheap and the enemy didn't care about morality. If they wanted to kill, they would use all means. Zhang Yi carefully reminded Chun Li, slow down a bit. Let go of the crossbow bolt in your hand. Chun Li trembled, slowly squatting down, carefully placing the bolt on the surface of the ice and snow. Zhang Yi signaled for Chun Li to step back, then quickly used his superpower to draw the bolt into the space. The used superpower could divide into separate areas. Even if the bolt contained a bomb, he could defuse it from within. In the special space, Zhang Yi opened a red cloth. Finally, he found no bomb, only a handwritten letter. Zhang Yi did not dare to be careless. He looked up at Chun Li and said, is this a challenge letter, or do they want to negotiate with me? Then Zhang Yi closed the special space. He put on thick gloves to protect against poison, even though there was strong poison on the bolt. The youth reminded Chun Li, take off your gloves and change to another pair. Chun Li understood Zhang Yi's meaning. Disregarding the cold, hurriedly removed his gloves and threw them far away. He felt anger and exclaimed, shit! After that, Zhang Yi led Chun Li and Uncle Wang back to the refuge. First, he called Zhou Kai Ni to the medical room, asking her to examine the bolt and the cloth. Zhang Yi said seriously, check to see if there's any poison on it. When Zhou Kai Ni saw Zhang Yi being so careful, she couldn't help but ask, if they are just delivering a message, why use this kind of tactic? Zhang Yi calmly replied, preparation is the best. It is during our carelessness that the enemy can easily attack. Uncle Wang agreed and nodded to express his approval. On the battlefield, any act of negligence can endanger lives. We have paid the price for this before. Zhou Kainan blinked. Although she understood clearly, she still felt that Zhang Yi and everyone were being overly cautious in facing a small arrow. Knowing this, she still put on gloves and carefully checked the bow and arrow along with the red piece of cloth professionally. As a result of the inspection, Zhou Kainan noticed a change in color on the arrow. Her expression also quickly changed, and everyone exclaimed, indeed, it is poisoned. Chun Li was so frightened that his face turned pale. Only when he thought back to how he had been careless just now did he feel scared. If he hadn't fortunately been wearing gloves, he might have lost his life. There was no denying that his legs now felt as if they had turned to jelly. Zhang Yi remained quite calm. We must never let our guard down against the enemy. They are always looking for ways to take our lives. The reason I deduced this is that if I were them, I would use similar tactics. After all, eliminating one enemy also means there's one less enemy. Zhou Kai took a glass cage and covered both the arrow and the red cloth. She suddenly noticed some lines of text on the fabric. There are words on the fabric. Do people want to come and see? Zhang Yi approached and actually saw the strange symbols on the piece of fabric. The curious young man asked, "What is this?" At first, Zhang Yi thought it was a war message or something similar, but it turned out to be a type of special character that everyone at the scene did not recognize. Zhang Yi had no choice but to call Yang Xin, a computer expert. The young man also invited Liang Yu to come and take a look together. Anyway, the fate of those students had been sealed. They were surely going to die. If Zhang Yi hid anything from Liang Yu, it would only raise her suspicion. When she heard that the Yangsheng base sent something, Liang Yu was very interested and hurried with Yang Xin and Zhou Kai Ni to the medical room. Yang Xin immediately recognized the string of characters when she saw it for the first time. This is an address. If I'm not mistaken, we can contact the Yangsheng base through this address. Zhang Yi asked calmly, "Is it safe?" Yang Xin smiled confidently. "Boss with me here, do you think there will be any danger?" Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. "That's good. I know Xin is the best." Yang Xin's face turned slightly red and her smile became even brighter. Liang Yu took a deep breath and asked urgently, "So now, can we confirm that our students were taken by the Yangsheng base, right?" Zhang Yi replied, "If nothing unexpected happens, it's definitely them. There are many coincidences like that in this world." Liang Yu then said, "All right, let's contact them right away and see what they want." Zhang Yi said nothing, just crossed his arms and reflected. When someone takes the initiative to send contact information, there are only two possibilities. The first possibility is that they want to use the cards they have to negotiate with me, aiming to gain the most benefits. In this case, the matter of Zhang Yi killing Gao Yuan and the others would also be resolved. Moreover, they have Liang Yu's students in their hands and might want to probe and assess their value, using this to exchange for something. The second possibility is that their purpose in chatting is to examine me, to understand the extent of the power in my hands. After thinking it over, Zhang Yi decided that he could proceed with a conversation with Yang Sheng. If the other party wants to assess me through conversation, why shouldn't I probe their attitude? Furthermore, it is necessary to pretend in front of Liang Yu to make her believe that I am trying to help Hao Cheng Yu and her group of students. After considering it, Zhang Yi raised his head and said, "Okay, we will talk to them." Zhang Yi thought to himself, "I also need to hold on to some of their intelligence." Liang Yu's face was radiant, believing there was hope to rescue her students. However, Zhang Yi seriously said to her, "There is one thing I need to clarify with you right now. I understand you are worried about your students, but saving them is not a child's play. It is very dangerous. If we show any weakness, they won't hesitate to attack us. So you can observe from there, but you must not pay too much attention to your students, or they will definitely take advantage of that. Do you understand?" Liang Yu lowered her head and thought for a moment before firmly nodding. "All right, I agree with you." Zhang Yi instructed Yang Xin, "You go arrange to get in touch with them. During the negotiation, not many people should participate. Liang Yu is allowed to observe from the side, but others are not necessary, so they should avoid being there to avoid suspicion." Zhang Yi asked the others to listen to the conversation between the two without making any noise. Everyone had no objections to this. Zhang Yi decided to conduct the communication with the Yangsheng base's personnel right in the living room. The others sat on both sides, feeling the tension and waiting for the conversation to begin. Yang Xin opened her computer, sending a chat request through the address written on the red paper. Then she placed the computer on the coffee table, the screen facing Zhang Yi. The call took quite a long time, with a response coming after about 3 minutes. "Hello," a woman's voice resonated. Zhang Yi smiled coldly. "Hello, I am Zhang Yi." There was a moment of silence on the other end before she said, "You are Zhang Yi, the leader of the organization around Sujia town and Yun Comenor?" Zhang Yi asked in reply, "And who are you?" "Ah, I am Xiao Hong Lian, the leader of the organization in the Yangsheng refugee area. My people were sent to the Hong Yuan material workshop. Was that handled by you?" Since the satellite phone had been discovered, there was no need to deny it. Whether Zhang Yi admitted it or not, the territorial war with the Yangsheng base would sooner or later begin. Therefore, Zhang Yi did not deny it. The young man asked again, "The people who were captured yesterday in Xudong village, they are your people, right?" Xiao Hong Lian, noticing Zhang Yi did not respond, pressed. "So you admit it then?" Zhang Yi replied, "Well, theoretically, that would be your doing." Although neither side directly answered the other's questions, the silence was the clearest answer. In the Yangsheng base's office, Xiao Hong Lian's eyes were filled with death. "You dare to kill my people? You are really bold. In the entire city of Tianhai, no one has ever dared to attack my base. Zhang Yi, you have brought about your own demise." But Zhang Yi just smirked disdainfully. "That phrase sounds very familiar." The last person who said that to me ended up as Ash. Oh right, you might have heard of him. His name is Chen X Iran. Teo Hong Lian's gaze turned sharp. The destruction of the Taishan base is indeed related to this mysterious force. Zhang Yi, just how strong has he become? When it comes to military might, the Taishan base is the strongest in Tianhai City. If Zhang Yi can destroy the Taishan base, then clearly he can also destroy our base. However, Teo Hong Lian is not entirely afraid of Zhang Yi. She said, "Do you think I am just a 3-year-old child? The Taishan base was destroyed due to a ballistic missile strike. Do you want to take all the credit for yourself? That's a bit too arrogant." Zhang Yi sneered coldly. "Then have you ever thought about why a missile suddenly attacked the Taishan base?" Teo Hong Lian's tone slowed down, and she appeared more serious. Indeed, that night, all forces in Tianhai City were terrified by a missile flying from the north. They had no means of contacting higher-ups and couldn't clarify the truth behind this incident. Therefore, Zhang Yi's way of speaking made her think that the missile might be a method by which Zhang Yi had called for help. Teo Hong Lian spoke with sarcasm. "Just you alone, a warehouse manager?" Zhang Yi calmly replied, "Don't bother trying to find out. Do you think I would tell you? I only hope that you recognize the truth from now on and stay away from me. If I can eliminate one group of your subordinates, I can also eliminate the second group." After speaking, he glanced at Liang Yu with a worried expression. "And those students you have taken must be returned to me honestly. Otherwise, I will not let this go." Zhang Yi's words angered Teo Hong Lian. After all, she was one of the top leaders of Tianhai City, not a timid and weak person. Zhang Yi's threat made her so furious that she slammed the table and shouted, "Arrogant! Destroy us? Do you have that kind of power? I don't believe you can actually control missiles. If you were really that strong, the entire city of Tianhai would have long been your territory." Teo Hong Lian continued, "Do you believe that I can now chop up all those students and send their bodies to you?" Liang Yu stood aside, her heart racing as if it wanted to jump out of her chest. She cast a pleading look at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi became serious, speaking in a deep voice. "You don't need to do something this foolish. Those students hold no value for us. Even if you kill them, it won't affect us." Teo Hong Lian smiled coldly. "But it doesn't sound like that to me. I feel like you seem worried about their lives. It seems I hold a good card in my hand." Zhang Yi frowned, looking troubled. This made Liang Yu feel increasingly guilty. She knew Zhang Yi was anxious only because he wanted to help her. In fact, he could need to care about the lives or deaths of those students. Liang Yu thought to herself, "Thank you, Zhang Yi. You are really a good person." Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief and asked Teo Hong Lian, "Those students are important friends of mine, but to you, they have no value. Let's talk. What do you want to release them?" The smile on the corner of Teo Hong Lian's mouth deepened. She was confident that she had caught Zhang Yi's weakness. "Ha ha, I haven't thought about it. Let me think for a moment." Teo Hong Lian frowned, starting to think about how to negotiate with Zhang Yi. Asking Zhang Yi for a life in return was impossible, as that would lead to direct conflict. She decided to probe what Zhang Yi's ultimate limit would be. Teo Hong Lian began to state her conditions. "Zhang Yi, you killed my cousin and the soldiers under his command. Now your people are in my hands. If you want them to return safely, you must give me the supplies you are holding in exchange. I know that previously the supply depot in Huanan was all in your hands. I only need half." Teo Hong Lian calmly laid out her conditions. "If you give me half of the supplies, I will return your people to you, and the matter of killing my cousin will be forgotten. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other. How about that?" Though she said this, she thought to herself, if Zhang Yi accepted this condition, it would only indicate that he was truly foolish. At the same time, it also proved that after the battle with the Taishan base, Zhang Yi had exhausted himself and no longer had the capacity to confront the Yangsheng base. In response to such an unreasonable proposal, Zhang Yi flatly refused. "There's no way. Don't dream." Teo Hong Lian said coldly, "If you don't agree, then we only have the path of war left. Do you think I'm playing games with you?" Teo Hong Lian sneered. "But after fighting with the Taishan base, you have been weakened, right? Moreover, according to the information I have, you not only killed people from the Yangsheng base, but also from the Zhao Yu base. I can ally with the Zhao Yu base to attack you. At that time, do you think you can withstand the coalition of 2 major bases?" Zhang Yi laughed and said, "Do you really think your Yangsheng base is stronger than the Taishan base?" "Ha ha, do you really think so? But I must say, you completely misunderstand my strength. If you truly want to die, then come here. I won't leave a single piece of armor intact, and I will crush your foolish arrogance." Zhang Yi continued, "But you don't need to target those students. They hold no value for you. I hope you can return them to me." CO Hong Lion said arrogantly, I only need half of your supplies. This price is very reasonable. Don't wait until things can no longer be contained. By then, you'll regret it, and it will be too late. The more Zhang Yi spoke, the more CO Hong Lion doubted. Could those students really be that important? If not, why did Zhang Yi keep insisting on getting them back? If you only need to say return them for me to return them, then wouldn't I be losing face? CO Hong Lion said coldly, unless you accept my terms, we have nothing more to discuss. Zhang Yi frowned. CO Hong Lion, don't underestimate others too much. Those students are innocent. If there is anything, come to me. They are people I value, and I will not allow you to harm them. If you dare to torture them and make them suffer, I will make you pay a heavy price. CO Hong Lion confidently believed he had grasped Zhang Yi's weakness, feeling very pleased with himself. Ha ha ha, it seems they are really important to you. The more you say that, the less I want to let them go. Furthermore, I want to torture them savagely so that they can neither live nor die. And all of this is because of you, Zhang Yi. Hearing CO Hong Lian's words, Zhang Yi thought to himself, you better kill those students quickly. Do you even know how exhausting it is for me to act? The conversation ended in silence and CO Hong Lian cut it off. Zhang Yi slammed the table in anger. Such disrespect for others. If you have a problem, come here and face me. Don't vent your anger on those innocent students. He stood up and decisively said, we can't continue to be passive like this anymore. Now we will immediately depart for the Yangsheng base to rescue them. Zhang Yi looked towards Chunlei and Uncle Wang. This time going to Yangsheng base is not like the previous attack on Xishan base. We do not have advantages in weather, geography, and personnel. Therefore, you do not need to go. This does not concern you. I do not want anyone to get involved. Everyone was taken aback when they heard Zhang Yi say this. Those who understood Zhang Yi felt that something was a bit strange. But when they saw Zhang Yi deciding to go to Yangsheng base as if accepting death, they naturally wanted to stop him. Zhou Kai Ni and Yang Mai hurriedly intervened. Zhang Yi, don't act impulsively. If you go right now, not only will you not save anyone, but you may also put yourself in danger. Yangsheng base is not much inferior to Xishan base, and moreover, they are ready for defense. Going means looking for death. Chun-Li whispered, audible only to the two. Brother Zhang, it seems you have gone too far. Continuing would be a bit excessive. Zhang Yi struggled pretentiously for a moment, then sighed. They really do not take us seriously, daring to capture Liang Yu students right before our eyes. He slammed his fist down on the sofa. I promised Liang Yu to help her protect these students. How can I fail to do that? Liang Yu, feeling emotional, approached and gently placed her right hand on Zhang Yi's shoulder. Zhang Yi, you do not need to be anxious. This is not your fault. If there is blame, it is because I did not protect them well. Liang Yu frowned, staring intently at Zhang Yi, who was trying his hardest. But this time we have to face a formidable enemy. This is no longer a situation that can be resolved with just a few nude persons. If we really have to confront the Yangsheng base directly, they may have the advantage in defense, but when it comes to counterattacks, they become weaker. From the beginning, Zhang Yi has devoted almost all resources to defending the Yunko mansion. Liang Yu said, Zhang Yi, you have done your best, I thank you. But all of this doesn't concern you. I don't want to trouble everyone. Liang Yu walked lightly, but her expression made Zhang Yi feel that something was off. Liang Yu, what are you planning to do? Liang Yu replied calmly, I want to find a place that belongs to my soul. After saying that, she disregarded the others in the living room and turned to head back to her room. In the living room, everyone felt that something was wrong with Liang Yu's mood. When Liang Yu left, Zhou Kaini anxiously said, is it possible that Liang Yu wants to go and rescue them by herself? Zhang Yi stroked his chin, surprised. Did my words not impress her? Chun-Li scoffed, stepped closer, and said, Mr. Zhang, your acting skills are really poor. It looks too fake. A dark streak appeared on Zhang Yi's forehead. Too poor. I was able to win third place in that performance contest at kindergarten. Chun-Li sighed. But even if you speak clearly and powerfully, who will believe you? Zhang Yi looked around at everyone, and they all silently nodded. He raised his hand. All right, at least I've expressed my support for her decision. Uncle Wang said, This isn't your fault. Among us, aside from Liang Yu, nobody has any connections with those students. Besides, they are not only lacking in skills, but also very lazy. Keeping them around won't help and will only cause trouble. Even Uncle Wang, a usually kind person, had to say this, showing how unpopular those students were. This also related to the previous experiences of Lu Qiran and Yang Xin. Zhang Yi moved closer to the sofa and continued. In summary, we all know that there is a high likelihood of war occurring. All defensive measures have been prepared thoroughly for several days now, so there's no need to worry too much. The way Saint Hong Lion flaunted his attitude earlier also shows that they don't understand our strength well. Everyone nodded in agreement, although there was some worry in their hearts. It wasn't much. After all, they had previously defeated the Xishan base, and the current front line had been solidly fortified. Liu Qiran watched Liang Yu lead with concern and said, "But what about Liang Yu now?" Zhang Yi propped his hands on the chair and spoke to her in Yang Xin. "You two should go and convince her. Don't let her do something foolish." Liu Qiran sighed, "But I'm afraid we won't be able to convince her. Liang Yu is gentle but also very stubborn. She's not easy to change." Zhang Yi encouraged her, "Just try your best. We can only do so much." Liu Qiran nodded reluctantly and then went with Yang Xin to find Liang Yu. On Zhang Yi's face, there was a strange calmness. He understood that for Liang Yu, those students were still alive, and with her beliefs, she was willing to risk everything to save them. However, if those students were no longer alive, Liang Yu would need time to heal and gradually emerge from the darkness. At that point, she might shift that attachment to Zhang Yi and his group. Straightforward people can sometimes bring trouble, but if used wisely, they could become the most reliable helpers. And then Zhang Yi would have the sharpest knife in his hands. After returning to her room, Liang Yu took a sword down from the shelf. Ever since that sword of hers was taken by Zhang Yi, Liang Yu accepted her fate and did not ask for it back. However, at the Xishan base, she had received a good sword that could replace it. Standing by the window, Liang Yu slowly drew the sword out and then used a white towel to wipe the blade clean. There was a knock on the door from outside, and when she turned around, she saw Liu Qiran pushing Yang Xin in. The eyes of the two students were filled with worry. Liang Yu calmly told them, "You should go back. I have made my decision." Xin hesitated. "Liang Yu, are you okay? Are you planning to go save the others by yourself? The way you look is really making us worried. If you can sacrifice yourself for them, why can't you live for me and Qiran?" Xin grabbed Liang Yu's hand and whispered, "Liang Yu, we need you." Liu Qiran added, "Liang Yu, we can't do anything without you." Hearing these words, Liang Yu fell silent. Xin continued, "Think about it. Both Qiran and I are ordinary people. We don't have superpowers. If there's danger in the future, we need your protection." Liang Yu felt her heart wavering even more, "But I can't just watch others die." Yang Xin continued, "Right now they are still alive. Their value lies in you. The reason they are alive until now is that the boss has feelings for you and is willing to help them. Therefore, you cannot die. We still have a chance to negotiate with the Yangsheng base, just wait a little longer." After being persuaded by two students, Liang Yu temporarily abandoned her risky plan to confront the Yangsheng base. She sighed, "All right, this is the only way now." Yang Xin obediently nodded, finally stopped crying, and smiled. After advising Liang Yu, Liu Qiran pushed Yang Xin out of the room. Once they stepped outside, Yang Xin's expression immediately changed, becoming calm and rational. Curious, Liu Qiran whispered to Xin, "Xin, does the boss really like Liang Yu?" Yang Xin smirked, drawing a suggestive smile. "No, I'm just fooling her. She's a woman who always has difficulties handling emotions. As long as she knows someone likes her, her mindset will be thrown off. Without doing this, how can I convince her to stay?" Liu Qiran's eyes widened in amazement. "Well done, you're really good at seducing teacher Liang." Yang Xin replied cryptically, "Everything I do is for her benefit. This foolish teacher is always willing to make sacrifices if she's unsatisfied. But her staying would truly be very good for us. Boss Zhang Yi does not support idlers." These words startled Liu Qiran, leaving her pale. In her memory, Zhang Yi had always been a gentle boss. She recalled the first time they met at school during the heavy snowfall. Zhang Yi's gaze at that time had no warmth at all. She told herself, "Then let's become even more useful." Zhang Yi knew that the girls had comforted Liang Yu, which made him feel a bit relieved. Liang Yu was someone he could not afford to lose. Not long after, there was a high possibility of a major battle occurring at the refuge, the Yangsheng base, and the Zhao Yu base. Liang Yu, with her superpower, would be a valuable support. He said to the two girls, "I understand. You have also worked hard." Looking out the window, the heavy snow made the hideout look completely white. The effects of the medicinal herbs were about to take effect. At Yangsheng base, after finishing the conversation with Zhang Yi, the smile on Xiao Hong Lian's lips deepened. Zhang Yi's strength made her realize the helplessness hidden within. Especially when mentioning Liang Yu and the students, his tone immediately became gentler, proving that Zhang Yi had been seriously injured after the battle with Xishan base and was forced to hide without daring to take action. This also showed that Zhang Yi no longer dared to provoke conflict with the other two bases, Yangsheng and Zhao Yu. The second point was that those students were very important to Zhang Yi. Xiao Hong Lion felt she had grasped Zhang Yi's weakness and could exploit it to gain an advantage. The more she thought about it, the more excited Xiao Hong Lion became. Based on what the students had said, Zhang Yi had several mutant persons under his command. If she could recruit them into their ranks, the strength of Yangsheng base would increase significantly. Zhuge King Ting, standing next to him, also congratulated. Looking at the current situation, their agreement is just a matter of time. I think we should act quickly to seize Zhang Yi's power. If we delay, other organizations will not hesitate to attack. Xiao Hong Lion raised his hand to signal not to rush. We should investigate thoroughly before deciding when to act. We must remember that we do not have only one enemy. If we focus on attacking Zhang Yi, the other three factions might take the opportunity to attack us. They are all eager for our oil refinery. Zhuge King Ting added, but opportunities often arise in the blink of an eye. If we miss this fertile land, it may be seized by others. Xiao Hong Lion replied, I would rather do nothing than make a mistake. Right now, everyone at Yangsheng base is worried. A small mistake could cost us our lives. We shouldn't risk losing a watermelon just to pick up a sesame seed. Zhuge King Ting hurriedly bowed his head. Yes, I will follow your orders. So what shall we do next? Xiao Hong Lion leaned back in his chair, his face displaying careful preparation. Zhang Yi is certainly very concerned about those students, so let's make him more troubled. Send someone to teach them a lesson, then record a video to send to Zhang Yi. At the same time, gather all information regarding the people around Zhang Yi. We need to understand their strength before we act. We must not underestimate the enemy. We cannot accept defeat. Zhuge King Ting nodded. Yes, leader. He bowed to Xiao Hong Lion and slowly walked away, quickly heading towards the prison. As he entered the dungeon, Zhuge King Ting saw students wearing explosive collars with desperate expressions. He smiled cruelly, approached, and pulled out a whip. It's time to treat our guest with some courtesy. In the desperate eyes of Hao Cheng Yu and the others, the guards dragged them out of their cells. Zhuge King Ting personally tortured them, inflicting terrible pain. Torture is a sophisticated technique. A small mistake can lead to the victim's death. But Zhuge King Ting was an expert in this field. He knew how to make the victim feel indescribable pain without killing them. The purpose this time was for Zhang Yi to witness, to inflict psychological harm on him and facilitate future negotiations. Therefore, the performance needed to be deeper and more complex. Zhuge King Ting decided to try some horrific methods, such as throwing them into a metal barrel full of worms or locking them in a damp cave filled with cockroaches. In the dungeon, the heartbreaking cries echoed incessantly, not only of physical pain, but also of mental torture. Zhuge King Ting called a subordinate to bring a camera to record the entire process. But in that moment, he sensed that something was wrong. A student suddenly collapsed to the ground, his mouth trembling and spewing thick foam. The soldier holding the camera exclaimed, What's happening? These students were important pawns, not easily disposable. He trusted his skills, confident he had controlled it enough not to let anyone die just yet. Zhuge King Ting quickly stopped to observe carefully. However, the student, after foaming at the mouth, suddenly expelled a large amount of blue liquid, a terrible smell rising up. Zhuge King Ting stood too close, and the stench made him dizzy, so he hurriedly stepped back a few paces. The student's body convulsed violently, his pants soaked with urine and feces. They had been poisoned. Zhuge King Ting immediately realized that this student exhibited typical signs of poisoning and that toxin had taken effect. Given the current medical conditions, they could not save him. Zhuge King Ting's eyes were filled with confusion. Why were they poisoned? This is not a food poisoning reaction. Food poisoning does not cause such violent reactions. Clearly, someone has poisoned them. While Zhuge King Ting was still thinking, he quickly noticed that several other students were also exhibiting symptoms of poisoning. A chill ran down his spine. If all these people died on his watch, it would be hard to explain to Xiao Hong Lian. He hurriedly took out the communicator to report the situation to Xiao Hong Lian. What? Poisoned? Xiao Hong Lian frowned, realizing that these students were still of some use and could not be allowed to die easily. Is there any way to save them? Zhuge King Ting replied. The doctors diagnosed that the poison has been accumulating in their bodies for a long time. Someone gave them a chronic poison, so it cannot be treated. The poison in their bodies is too severe. 2 of them have already died. If there were better medical conditions than before, perhaps there would still be a chance to save them. Disappointment surged within Zhuge King Ting. They work hard to bring these prisoners here, but now they are all about to die. What does our effort mean? The more he thought, a mystery in his mind gradually became clear. Why was Gao Yuan's satellite phone found in the room of these students? Clearly, it did not kill the members of Gao Yuan's team. Someone must have deliberately wanted to eliminate them, but could not do it themselves, So they use our people. When Zhuge Qingting thought of this, his pupils contracted as he exclaimed, "This is trouble. We have fallen into a trap. We are becoming tools for others." Xiao Hong Lian still did not understand and asked back, "What do you mean?" Zhuge Qingting continued to explain, "These people were chronically poisoned and deliberately placed in Sudong village. They even used Gao Yuan's satellite phone as bait to lure us in. Although I am not clear on the specific purpose of the mastermind, it is clear that this is a carefully prepared plan." After hearing this, Xiao Hong Lian wondered, "But why would they do that? Using a group of poisoned people to harm us doesn't affect us at all." A few seconds later, Xiao Hong Lian realized something. Or is it that Zhang Yi wants to kill these students but doesn't want to do it himself? In fact, Xiao Hong Lian and Zhuge Qingting did not know that this plan was not aimed at them, but they were being used as tools. However, Xiao Hong Lian, with the principle of seizing every opportunity, ordered, "While they are not dead yet, let's record a video and send it to Zhang Yi. If the poison is not caused by him, we'll take this opportunity to harm him at the refuge."